My name is Adam Shea Hewett, and I beat the often path, becoming a, uh, a neuroengineer without a neuroscience degree. And I found out a way it might be possible to stimulate the brain directly with music. And so I started as a programmer and a musician. I made a program for my family and friends, threw it out on the internet for 35 bucks, and it actually took off. Even in the early 2000s, it took off and it became my day job soon after, and we hired a neuroscientist.
So why do we listen to music? Is it because it makes us feel better when we're sad, or makes us feel sadder when we're sad, or makes us feel sadder when we're happy, or more introspective when we're upset? Do we like music because it makes the sad sadder, the happy happier, the angry angrier, or the opposite of all that? 30 seconds into this video and I'm already confused. The point is this: we all know that music has the power to affect our brain directly via our ears. That's why we love it. But what we don't know is how or why. Enter my guest today, Adam Hewett, pioneer of neuromusical synchronization. Now, what the hell is that, you might ask, and why should you give a shit?
Why should you give a shit?
Neuromusical synchronization is neural stimulation through music-based neural phase locking, and we're still confused. I know I am. The upshot is, what if we added science and AI behind the weird phenomenon of music? What if instead of just guessing at what music does to our brain, we sought to study it, and more interesting still, deliberately create music that's designed to manipulate our brain in a certain way? For example, making us more sleepy or more productive or hungry. Can we do that? Can music make us more hungry? Because I'm pretty hungry right now. Whatever. Adam Hewett has impressive sounding patent names under his belt, like method to increase quality of sleep with acoustic intervention, method for enhanced memorization and retention of consecutive text, non-invasive neural stimulation through audio, and he's built multi-million-dollar companies on the back of these technologies that he's created. Just a few decades ago, the scientific community really doubted Adam's vision. Today, he's published scientific papers, and he was awarded a National Science Foundation grant, and it's generally understood that he's up to something important. Could his technologies, however, be used for nefarious purposes if in the wrong hands? Can he control your brain directly so you give him more money right now? Well, there's only one way to find out. Here's Adam Shea Hewett, co-founder of Evoked Response, the new frontier of music and the brain. I'm Ross Palmer, and this is Beat the Often Path. I just love mixing in frequencies, so I'm super excited to talk to you because I didn't grow up playing piano. I didn't grow up with guitar lessons. I kind of wish that I was forced to do that as a kid. I didn't have it. But what I did always like was the way that frequencies hit my brain. From the time that I discovered electronic music, I just appreciated that my brain felt different. And I discovered electronic music before a lot of people even knew what it was, certainly in the United States. And to this day, when I mix other people's projects or do audio things, it's really more about the frequencies for me than it is about the notes. So I'm very, very fascinated about the insights that you have into not only building a business and this interesting career, but also how to directly stimulate the brain with audio. So how did you get involved in this?
Well, first of all, two questions. I'm really curious about your experience. First of all, it's a good thing that you should consider it a good thing that you have not yet learned to play an instrument, because that means that if you started learning to play an instrument, you would experience massive neurogenesis in the brain, neuron growth. This is a great thing. You could do it now to experience a boost, or you could wait until you have some brain concussion, or some kind of concussive event, and then rehabilitate yourself. I mean, there's entire TED Talks on that, and so I don't think that's a bad thing at all. There's never a bad time. Another cool thing to mention is that you were able to appreciate music without any training. Just think about that. We're born with this ability, and you became an audio engineer without ever learning to play anything. because we're born with this ability. Of course, you had to learn how to be an audio engineer, and I said respect for a reason, because mixing is not easy. And actual audio engineers amaze me whenever I see their YouTube videos. They'll be playing something and they'll be like, that doesn't sound quite right. How about this? That sounds good. And I'll be like, that sounds exactly the same to me.
Yes.
Micro audio engineers have a very attuned ear. And you were born with that, and you perfected it, throughout your profession, which is very cool.
Well, first of all, thank you. But along those lines, I think I've always been somebody who's fascinated with technology and the implications of technology. I didn't like guitar music I like it now, but as a kid, I only liked synthesizers, sounds I'd never heard before, technology plus music and where that would take me. And I think what appealed to me about mixing and about the music as a listener was that it's a marriage of a very technical skill with something that is purely artistic and intangible. You have to know thousands of key commands. You have to know software in and out, plugins, all of these very technical things. And I also come from a background of teaching myself how to program when I was a very young age. With my calculator, I was learning assembly language on my own. And so it's that combination of something very technical with something that's not technical at all that I love so much. So I'm just super curious about how you got the idea to build this business in this space and how you positioned it and just all of that good stuff.
Yeah, those are really good points. And it's still no matter how much science we put into it, it still remains somewhat of an art form. I even at one point built a music creating AI, but we more interacted with the composer more and more as the AI evolved to a point where we at Evoked Response we don't use it at all. So back in 2000 I attended a meditation retreat, and they had everybody kind of sitting in an auditorium or a room. And it was clear that everybody was having trouble relaxing, trouble getting into a state where any of the techniques that they were trying to teach would be of any help. And this was, it was kind of a meditation course, but it was also kind of a self-help course in how to train your brain. Very early kind of mindfulness kind of stuff, So anyway, everybody was having trouble relaxing, and they put on this sound that they call the alpha sound, and it sounded like the rumbling of an engine. I mean, you would have thought that it would have sounded like Enya or rain or something like that, but it sounded like the rumbling of an engine, and it actually had a very profound effect on me. And I think, like you were saying, maybe I have a very physical reaction to music, and a lot of people do. It's called frisson generally, where you get chills, when Aretha Franklin's singing or something like that.
Yes,
it's called frisson, and it's kind of a synesthesia, and it's something that many of us are born with. And so I have often have very religious experiences. It's gotten to the point where I'm kind of used to listening to tunes and just experiencing this incredible body high, and from the frisson alone, the very physical response I have to music. So it just turned out that I was very, very well suited to this form of stimulation, although it wasn't effective for everybody. And there's stuff out there like binaural beats, which are generally pseudoscientific, but they do work for some people.
Right.
So they didn't work for me, ironically enough. So I had to develop something myself. And I was an engineer, as I said, and I grew up in a musical family and was trained classically. It was this very lucky confluence of skills that led me to create the very first application, which it was called the Neuroprogrammer, and I was pretty young at the time, and this was the early 2000s, so it was a Windows program, and I had the idea that music could program the brain. I don't necessarily think that's true now, but I think that it can help people reach very profound mental states, and we can talk more about that. And so I started diving into the medical literature. I learned quickly how to absorb medical papers very quickly. There's kind of there's tricks to it. If you just try to read all the way through,
that'll put you to sleep.
Kind of lost.
That'll alter your brain in a way that facilitates sleep. I'm sure.
So I dived into it and found that there really was not much out there. So it was time for me to build something to help people experiment and to encourage research in this field. At the time, actually, this was highly controversial. I was selling it for $35, which even then was the cost of a meal. So I thought it was not very much, and really was just paying for our neuroscientist. So, but because I was selling it, it was actually highly criticized by the scientific community, because at the time there was a lot of debate about whether even brainwaves meant anything, whether you could discern whether they were just random oscillations, random impulses, or if they actually represented thought processes, if you could detect things from them, if you could discern biomarkers. And so at the time, that was even in question. I didn't question that part. I went straight towards, hey, what if we manipulate brainwaves? What if we change them? Does that affect mental state? And that alone would have been very controversial, but I was trying to do it with sound. So 20 years later, I'll jump back, but 20 years later, I am very happy to say that it is supported by wide empirical evidence. A paper that I co-authored will probably be published in Nature Communications next year, which is the top journal in the world.
Wow.
So I'm very, very, that's the dream.
Congratulations. What an arc. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
That's huge. Validation at the highest level. Amazing.
Yeah, that's for ADD. And there's so much more to do. We've just scratched the surface. Since I've been doing this for 20 years, I've found so many different protocols and different, gotten so much feedback from people. I actually made some of the first BCIs for the PC, brain-computer interfaces for the PC, and some of the first neurofeedback games. I still see those neurofeedback games used on devices today.
Wow.
So I kind of whole hog with it and just dedicated my life to it. And I was young at the time. At 2000, I would have been 19. And so I didn't know why this would become my life's work, but I'm not unhappy that it did. I'm extremely passionate about it, and I know that it can help so many people. And that's what it's all about for me. That's what it's always been about.
Today's episode on neural activation is brought to you by Harvey's Brain Control Soup. At Harvey's, we listen directly to your brain to create procedurally generated AI-powered soup that's uniquely tailored to your specific taste buds and synapses. When you eat a big old bowl of Harvey's Brain Control Soup, you won't just say, "Damn, that's a fine soup." You'll say, "I'll do anything you ask, Harvey," as the soup gently controls your thoughts and mind. Harvey's Brain Control Soup. Don't worry about finding us, we'll find you. So it's super cool that you've either consciously or subconsciously gravitated towards ADD, ADHD. Have you noticed some unexpected finds or some counterintuitive opposite things along your journey so far? Things that surprised you?
Well, going off your ADD example, it's actually the opposite. Their brain is going slower than ours. Whenever they, but in very particular situations, um, it- whenever most people are presented with a challenge, a test, for example, in particular, the frontal lobe um, has a flurry of activity. You know, if you were looking at it on a brain map, it would be red right here. You know, um, but if you have ADD, then actually you see gigantic kind of almost black holes form there, where there's very little of this higher level activity, and so that is very surprising to me. So whenever I discovered that, but it is like you said. At the same time, you cannot go over a certain frequency range, or it becomes ineffective. It gives you anxiety, other things. There are sweet spots. And I'm not going to call them frequencies, because people get hung up on that and they think, oh, there's some magic frequency. There's some. It's not that. It's waveform. It's instrumentation. It's but there are variables and sweet spots in the brain, or in music, that can eject people from their current state of inability, or some people will be locked into a state of anxiety. You can kind of unlock them from that. You can give them access to the zone very quickly. We're recently worked on a protocol where we can get people on average into a flow state within 5 minutes, and that sounds absolutely crazy, but it's it's true, and I can't wait for that to become mainstream. We worked with Neurosity, by the way, for that. They're a wearable company, and so you can check out their app, and our music is on their app, and they'll soon be releasing it to people that don't have their EEG hardware. So you can also experience that. And I take that every morning after every Zoom. So I'm an introvert. I get terrible Zoom fatigue. So I listen to these they call them shift tracks, because they shift you into the zone. 50% of people at the current dashboard that I saw, 50% of people get a shift within 5 minutes, into a flow state. I mean,
that's absurd.
It's bonkers. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's hard to say that at a scientific conference, to be honest. You just like, people just like, what the hell is this guy even? So, but it's the one thing that I really love about what I've always done is that it's experiential. I've always told detractors throughout the years, just try it. Just try it. Just try it. Just try it. Why don't you just try it? And the thing is, like, I make this comparison to them, so I probably shouldn't make it now because it's never worked. But my comparison is, what if I discovered opium and you didn't believe that worked? Like, you just denied it. You're like, oh, there's no way any kind of drink could put you into that state. That's just not, I've tested beer, coffee, water, nothing else does it. Yep. But so I'm not going to believe that opium, and I will not try it. It's like, well, what do you do? What do you do in that case? So one of the things I really loved about actually is that it is very experiential. You listen to our music and you feel like you are on Adderall. If it's the focus music, if you listen to the sleep music, you feel like gravity is pulling you down into sleep.
Well, okay, first of all, actually, what's the difference between Brain FM and Evoked Response? They're both running at the same time. One didn't morph into the other, right?
Brain FM became pretty successful, and it's still pretty successful, and I still got stock there.
And is it producing
But
15 million plus, I believe I read, in revenue per year, 1.5 million plus users? I'd say that's pretty successful.
yeah, pretty successful, right? So, they're doing pretty good. But do I believe that an app is going to be like it's going to become some unicorn app and people are going to replace their Spotify playlists and they're just, and it's going to become mainstream? What ends up happening with B2C business to consumer companies, is that you start focusing so much on acquiring users that you lose track of your roots and your science, and you lose track of, I'll give you an example. In the time since Evoked was created, at Brain FM, we were able to increase slow wave sleep, deep sleep by 30%. And since we can now double the time that you spend in deep sleep.
Wow.
We can double it.
That's insane.
And it takes it doesn't negatively affect the rest of your sleep, because it actually helps you get to sleep at first. It decreases sleep onset. It decreases midnight awakenings, and it uses that time to get you to stimulate deep sleep and to help memory consolidation, to help rid the brain of metabolic waste like beta amyloids and chemicals like adenosine. I think everybody can relate to waking up after 8 hours of sleep and still feeling sleepy. That's because you didn't get deep sleep, because deep sleep drains adenosine from the brain, and that's if that doesn't happen, you're just going to be groggy. Right now, we're a business-to-business company only, and I feel that has a much higher potential, because I'm not interested in credit. I don't care if people are screaming my name off the rooftop. Who besides us knows who Moog is?
Yes. Good reference.
I mean, we love the guy. If we met him, we'd be like, wow,
I'd be
like
thrilled.
Tesla.
I would love to talk to him. Yeah.
Oh, well, of course, right? But it's I don't care about credit. All I care about is that people are getting help, and I don't care about money. I'm being completely honest. I'm in an apartment that I love. We have a dog park outside. I can see the lake in Chicago. I'm happy. I hope to never leave. And so it's all about helping people, and and that's what I'm doing. And I'm working with people that are every time I have a conversation with somebody like yourself, it's an intelligent conversation. It's a fun conversation. It's a conversation about stuff that I love, and I get to spread the word about how music is this great thing that we should appreciate, and that is in the next 10 years going to have to be completely reconceptualized. We have sessions, for example, that we give out to potential clients, and these are meant, we have a folder of sessions that I call them the knockout sessions. These are the sessions that are meant to get us clients. So the relaxation sessions, and I say this to every client, I say, I challenge you to stay awake during a relaxation session. I challenge you, just try to stay awake. I mean, drink coffee, whatever, I don't care. Nobody can do it. I mean, you fall asleep. My business partner, Chris Kukla, was riding his bike to work one day, accidentally put on the relaxation session and fell off his bike. Yeah. Somebody who makes relaxation, like Enya, for example, that shows my age, and Enya wants to relax people with a song, so she starts using our technology. It gets on the radio. There's a million
people
car
are gonna
wrecks.
crash their cars. Yeah,
and people don't realize how powerful music is.
I love
so
that analogy.
This is in the next decade. There's going to have to be a complete reconceptualization of music. Now, I'm going to do everything in my power to prevent an event like that, because that could destroy the movement for decades to come.
Well, hey, Adam, I know we've been having a great chat. I could talk about this all day. I really appreciate it. I think the implications of what you're doing are just so profound. People are going to begin to realize that as we go. But I just wanted to, again, thank you for taking the time to chat with me. I really appreciate your thoughts and your opinion. I will continue to observe and support you from afar.
Thank you.
I just wanted to give you the floor here for a quick last word. So where can people find you? How can they best support you and your work?
Well, we're at evokedresponse.com, and we're currently a B2B business. So if you have a company, any company really, that, I mean, do you want more productive workers? Do you want athletes to get better sleep? We worked with Olympians. Do you want, and there's just myriad possibilities here. And researchers, please reach out to me. Let's get a grant together. Let's do this. But we are also releasing an app that is going to be completely free, and it will have a limited selection of music. Any music that's basically not licensed out currently, we're going to put in there for free. You know, as a humanitarian, just kind of like, hey, here you go. Subscribe to our Twitter or whatever, and great, amazing things are coming down the road. And if you're interested in music at all, as well, you know, I mean, feel free to contact me. I'm actually very approachable. I'm very, just hit me up on LinkedIn or whatever. And I love talking about this stuff, and I love teaching. Yeah, find us at evokedresponse.com. You can find me personally at adamhewett.com, HEWETT. Look forward to amazing things and appreciate your ability in music.
Sounds good. Well, with that, that's a great ending. Thank you again. And the official podcast is now over.